This chilling line convinced me Reacher's latest villain is the best of the entire series, and it's not Polly. Polly might be gaining all the attention as Reacher Season 3's latest villain, but a single line from his boss Quinn convinced me he's the show's best bad guy yet. The Lee Child Jack Reacher novels have never been that concerned with convincing readers the main character could actually die. The books are a power fantasy where they step into Reacher's muscle-bound shoes as he dispenses fist-shaped justice. The trouble with that approach is that many of Reacher's villains feel underwhelming and one-note as a result. During the first 2 seasons, I was consistently unimpressed by the bad guys on Amazon's Reacher. They were effectively nasty, but they also never felt like credible threats. Reacher Season 2 adapted Bad Luck and Trouble, and while it further developed Alan Ritchson's anti-hero, the lameness of the villains was a real problem. I feel like Season 3 has worked hard to fix this, with both the hulking Polly Olivia Richters and Quinn Brian T being truly detestable antagonists. Quinn's "gut him from tongue to tea" line in Reacher Episode 6 chilled me. Reacher Season 3 covers Persuader, the 7th novel, and my personal favorite. The Polly versus Reacher fight is the absolute highlight, but the novel works because Child made sure to keep Reacher on his back foot. The new series has put Polly at the forefront, but Episode 6 Smoke on the Water has convinced me Quinn is the best bad guy the series has produced. In particular, there is a line Quinn delivers that truly unnerved me, where he demands the execution of a Reacher ally with the order, "gut him from tongue to tea and let him bleed out." Even Quinn's men are horrified by his request, but when they say they could just shoot the man instead, Quinn smirks. Where's the fun in that? Reacher Episode 4 Dominique fleshed out Reacher's history with Quinn, revealing that Latter's interrogation and murder of Jack's prop Cole Mariah Robinson. Quinn's psychological profile also underlined how he enjoys inflicting torture too. This is seen again in the way he forces Richard Beck Johnny Berchtold to play Russian roulette later in the episode as punishment for his father's perceived failures. I'm thankful Reacher doesn't actually show the gutting demise of Warrant Officer Powell Owen Roth, but Quinn's demand is chilling enough. There's a level of sadism and spitefulness to Quinn that sets him apart from the show's previous bad guys, and while Polly might be the muscle, Quinn still feels like the bigger threat. His eventual comeuppance can't come fast enough. I found most of Reacher's previous villains underwhelming. It's not like Polly or Quinn are particularly deep or well fleshed out. It's hard to picture either having any kind of personal life outside their scenes, and they exist merely to be awful so Reacher can eventually beat them. Still, they are a step up from the forgettable bunch Reacher fought in the previous seasons. Robert Patrick Terminator 2. Judgment Day is a fantastic actor, but he had little to do as Season 2's villain aside from barking orders into a phone and waiting to die in the finale. I still think Reacher Season 1 is the best so far, but enjoyably hissable as Chris Webster's Kleiner is, he felt more like a henchman than a true villain. The second season also gave more development to shadowy mastermind Am Ferdinand Kingsley than was found in the source material, but he still made for a forgettable foe. In fact, I forgot about him for entire episodes, and he had little impact on the plot until the finale. When you think of Reacher villains, a few names might spring to mind: the cold efficiency of Kleiner SR, the twisted intelligence of the Zek, or the brute force of Polly, the mountain of muscle that even Reacher hesitated to square off with. But in Reacher's Season 3 adapted from Lee Child's Persuader, a new villain slithers into the spotlight, and no one was prepared for just how chilling he'd be. It wasn't his kill count, nor his strategic cunning that left the deepest impression. It was a single line delivered with such cold, calculating detachment, it sent a shiver down my spine. And no, it wasn't Polly. It was Francis Xavier Quinn. Quinn, a ghost from Reacher's past and a former military intelligence officer turned mercenary monster, is a walking contradiction. Suave yet sadistic. Intelligent yet utterly unhinged. And in a series built on tension and physical confrontation, Quinn operates on an entirely different frequency. He doesn't just fight Reacher. He haunts him. Midway through the season, there's a scene that crystallizes Quinn's terrifying aura. Reacher and Susan Duffy, deep in their off-the-books operation, have finally located a secure line tapped into Quinn's communications. They listen in as Quinn interrogates a DA informant with no hint of anger, no raised voice, just clinical, dispassionate evil. And then he says it. "You think pain is the worst I can do? Pain ends. What I do stays." That line. Right there. That's when I knew Quinn was unlike any other villain Reacher had ever faced. It wasn't just the content, it was the calmness of it. Quinn doesn't revel in violence like a thug or rage through it like a brute. He's a surgeon of the psyche, slicing into people not with fists or bullets, but with dread. He's not interested in breaking bones, he wants to break your sense of self. What makes Quinn so compelling isn't just that he's a threat to Reacher's life. It's that he's a threat to Reacher's code. He knows Reacher from the old days, knows what he believes, how he operates, and how to twist those beliefs until they bleed. He mocks Reacher's moral clarity as if it's a weakness, a relic of a more naive time. And in doing so, he forces Reacher to examine just how far he's willing to go. The brilliance of Quinn as a villain is also in the contrast. Where Polly is a wall Reacher must physically overcome, Quinn is a mirror Reacher is forced to look into. And the reflection isn't pretty. Quinn represents what Reacher could have become if he'd given in, if he'd used his lethal skills for profit, control, or revenge. That ideological threat carries more weight than any left hook ever could. The showrunners nailed the tone with Quinn. His backstory is layered without over-explaining. His actions are ruthless, but never cartoonish. And that line, that beautifully written, razor-sharp piece of dialogue, is more terrifying than any explosion or ambush. It tells you everything you need to know about the man. He's not in this for money or chaos. He's in it for dominance. Legacy. The kind that doesn't fade with time, because it's burned into the minds of those who survive him. In a series where many villains are memorable, Quinn stands out not because he's the strongest or even the most dangerous in a traditional sense, but because he lingers. Like a ghost you can't exorcise. Like a wound that never truly heals. When Reacher finally confronts him, it's not just a fight, it's a reckoning. So yes, Polly may have been a titan. Kleiner was a tyrant. But Quinn, he's a reminder that sometimes the most chilling villain isn't the one who hits hardest, but the one who whispers truths you were afraid to hear. And I'll never forget that line. Not because it was loud or flashy or backed by a menacing soundtrack, but because it was quiet, measured, icy. What I do stays. He wasn't wrong. The showrunners nailed the tone with Quinn. His backstory is layered without over-explaining. His actions are ruthless, but never cartoonish. And that line, that beautifully written, razor-sharp piece of dialogue, is more terrifying than any explosion or ambush. It tells you everything you need to know about the man. He's not in this for money or chaos. He's in it for dominance. Legacy. The kind that doesn't fade with time, because it's burned into the minds of those who survive him. In a series where many villains are memorable, Quinn stands out not because he's the strongest or even the most dangerous in a traditional sense, but because he lingers. Like a ghost you can't exorcise. Like a wound that never truly heals. When Reacher finally confronts him, it's not just a fight, it's a reckoning. So yes, Polly may have been a titan. Kleiner was a tyrant. But Quinn? He's